Russian strikes continue to bleed Ukraine for 42 days now. Russian Hellbirds have left the Ukrainian capital in shambles as Putin's missiles continue to ravage some of the villages in the outskirts of Kyiv. The town of Borodyanka near Kyiv is in ruins. European media reports have disclosed hundreds of civilians were estimated to be killed by the invaders. Ukraine has said the town would likely record a higher death toll compared to the horrific Bucha massacre, which has killed hundreds of innocent civilians. Destruction and devastation has taken over Ukraine's besieged port city of Mariupol, bruised and battered with relentless Russian attacks. Civilians in Mariupol are seen fleeing the ravaged city. In Mykolaiv, Russian forces damaged a hospital building after a massive explosion of a van took place, blowing out the windows. President Zelenskyy has given the UN a harrowing account of atrocities in Bucha and demanded the expulsion of Russia from the UNSC. Capital Kyiv suburbs have been retaken, but the towns are completely shattered. My colleague Rajesh Pawar travelled to Borodyanka, which has turned into a ghost town now. Take a look at what he saw.
I'm in the town of Borodyanka now. It is about 20 kilometers from Bucha. This is one of the places which witnessed heavy fighting in between the two forces. And we are on a conducted tour by the Ukrainian government. A lot of international and local journalists have been brought here. And the background, if you can see, this is an apartment block, the central portion of which has been totally blown out. The rest of it is burned. There in the corner is another apartment block which has suffered the same fate. Half of it blown out, the rest of it burnt out. Debris everywhere here. And these people you see, they are all international or local journalists who have been brought here now. Everywhere debris. A lot of destroyed tanks and armored personnel carriers in this area, and the vehicles burnt out or destroyed totally. And the building behind is also destroyed. And this place is called Taras Shevchenko Square, and we have been first brought here by the Ukrainian officials to show the area around what all happened. And this has a lot of significance in terms of this man, Taras Shevchenko. The universities and a lot of places are named after him. He's kind of a symbol of Ukrainian nationhood. Something like we have Mahatma Gandhi for India, similar. This is another apartment block, totally destroyed. That's one. And this is the second one. And that's the statue of Taras Shevchenko destroyed.
India Today's Gaurav Sawant is in Ukraine's Stoyanka, where most of the buildings have been destroyed in Russian shelling. People are coming ahead to help in the relief work. They're carrying food packages, fuel and other necessities to Irpin. Here's Gaurav's latest report from Stoyanka.
We are currently at Stoyanka, again, one of the worst impacted places in the Russian shelling that took place at Irpin, Bucha, Hostomel. Look at the destruction all around us. A lot of effort will have to be put in to rebuild this place. Every building, even in Stoyanka, has been shattered in very intense artillery battles and infantry attacks and rocket and missile attacks that took place in this area. But a lot of relief material is also flowing in. For example, we have a group of aid workers here from Rivne. This is a church group that has come in. But look at the fact is they themselves were adversely impacted in Russian shelling and fighting, and yet they've come forward to help the people of Irpin and Bucha. And sir, what's your name?
Oleg.
Oleg.
Anna.
Anna.
Arina.
Arina.
Artem.
Artem.
Alexander.
Alexander. Are you students?
Yeah, three of us are students.
And you are headed to Irpin or Bucha?
We are heading to Irpin.
To Irpin.
Yes.
What all are you carrying to Irpin with you?
I will answer. So we are carrying humanitarian help. This is food, fuel, generators, tools to help people to rebuild, to clean the space, like houses, because lots of them are destroyed now.
And this comes at a time when your own homes in Rivne have also been targeted in the missile and rocket attacks, right?
Yes. A few times we were under target, target of this missiles.
But since Irpin and Bucha were badly impacted, you've come forward to help. So who's funding this?
We are from church, so church support us. And in this town in Pin, we go to our friends, so we know them and we want to help, even though we was targeted, and we also.
That's actually the human spirit, and I'd like to show you, for a moment, apart from water bottles and food, kind of dry rations, breads, buns, jam, butter, vegetables. There is fuel. There are generators because there is still no electricity either in Irpin or in Bucha because of electricity lines being disrupted.
Yes.
What else have you heard about the situation on ground?
We heard that this is awful and lots of deaths. People are dead. I don't know what about Irpin, but I know that the situation in Bucha is really awful. And we heard about this a few days ago, and we were personally, I was destroyed and cried because I know that lots of people, lots of kids, women, men, old people, they were just killed. Very notorious news.
So aren't you scared about going to an area which still has a lot of bombs?
Анечка.
Scared?
Ні, я не налякана, я скоріше обурена.
No, she isn't scared. We aren't scared, but we just for us, furious because of this. It's our land, it's our people.
Okay. What makes you so furious?
Well, actually, I've got my apartment in Irpin, so I moved from Irpin a month ago, a day when the war started. So I just want to see my friends, my neighbors, my apartment.
Are they still there, or we were told most people had left?
Some of them are still there. These are Christians. They serve people. They serve as volunteers and pastors.
So they're still there.
Yeah.
I saw one church that's still operational in Irpin. It's an Orthodox church, Baptist church. Okay, that's there. So which means there are two churches that are still operational. But I wish you all the best. There are volunteers like this, and just look at the destruction all around. There are bullet marks, there are shell marks, there are shrapnel marks all over, and there's hardly a building that hasn't been destroyed in this area. So Stoyanka, Irpin, Bucha, Hostomel, one belt after the other targeted. Just look around across the road. Those buildings have been targeted very, very badly. We'll move closer and show you some other stuff. So for example, now there is military hardware that continues to flow into this country. As you can see that tanks, armored personal carriers and self-propelled howitzers continue to be taken, and the information we are getting is that some of these SP howitzers are now being taken to the Belarus border as those borders get restored. But one after the other, you can see whether it's fire brigades or ambulances or emergency vehicles, they continue to go into Irpin and Bucha to help those still trapped inside, or to carry out investigation in cases of those killed in this deadly conflict between Russia and Ukraine. With cameraman Lalit Mohan Joshi at Stoyanka, Ukraine, Gaurav Sawant for India Today.
Days after the horrific Bucha massacre in Ukraine, which killed hundreds of innocent civilians, India Today's relentless coverage of this brutality resonated in Parliament. Minister of External Affairs, as Jaishankar said, India strongly condemns the killings that took place in Bucha. He insisted on immediate cessation of hostilities, saying India is encouraging talks between Ukraine and Russia. The Foreign Affairs Minister said the best interest of India is to ensure citizens are not subject to additional and unavoidable problems. He's addressed the parliament during the debate on the crisis in Ukraine in Lok Sabha. When the discussion of India purchasing oil was brought up, he said every nation adopts policies that safeguards the well-being of its own people first.
Sir, many honorable members brought up the incident, the happenings in Bucha, and I want to say that we are deeply disturbed by the reports. We strongly condemn the killings which have taken place there. This is an extremely serious matter, and we support the call for an independent investigation. Like all countries, we too are assessing the implications and deciding what is best for our national interest. Members are aware that in a complex and globalized world, every nation takes into account the reality of interdependence. Therefore, even as they express their position in words and deeds, they also adopt policies that safeguard the well-being of their population. We encourage talks between Ukraine and Russia, including at the level of their presidents. Prime Minister has spoken to them both himself in this regard. This was precisely the message that was conveyed to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov when he was at Delhi. If India can be of any assistance in this matter, we will be glad to contribute.
Moscow is facing global revulsion and accusations of war crimes after the Russian pullout from the outskirts of Kyiv. Ukraine has raised the Bucha killings at the UNSC, calling it one of many of the genocides. The United Kingdom and European Union are calling for stricter sanctions against Russia.
Streets strewn with corpses. Bodies buried in shallow graves. Burned bodies left in the open. The grisly images of battered Bucha have sparked global outrage. Ukraine has raised the Russian brutality in Bucha at the United Nations Security Council. Kyiv has urged the UN to strip Russia of its veto power.
The UN system must be reformed immediately so that the right of veto will not become the right of a death, so that there is a fair representation of all world regions in the Security Council.
After India today reported the barbaric killings, New Delhi joined the world in slamming the killings. India Today report resonated in the parliament when External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, without naming Russia, expressed deep anguish over the bloodbath, calling for an independent investigation and immediate end to hostilities.
We strongly condemn the killings which have taken place there. This is an extremely serious matter, and we support the call for an independent investigation. We encourage talks between Ukraine and Russia, including at the level of their presidents. Prime Minister has spoken to them both himself in this regard. This was precisely the message that was conveyed to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov when he was at Delhi. If India can be of any assistance in this matter, we will be glad to contribute.
Moscow is facing global revulsion and accusations of war crimes after the Russian pullout from the outskirts of Kyiv revealed horrors inflicted on the civilian population. The UK has urged G7 to ban Russian ships and set a timetable for oil and gas exit. Russia has rejected all the charges. Kremlin claims Bucha is a monstrous forgery aimed at maligning Russia.
Российской стороны в адрес российских военных.
The entire course of events, a huge amount of data, facts and other parameters do clearly witness that this is a forgery conducted to try and smear the Russian army. It will not work.
Russia is facing other grave charges too. The UN has accused Russia of using cluster bombs in Ukraine.
OHCHR has received credible allegations that Russian forces have used cluster munitions in populated areas at least 24 times.
Cluster munitions pose an immediate threat to civilians during a conflict. Such bombs randomly scatter submunitions or bomblets over a wide area. The Convention on Cluster Munitions is an international treaty that prohibits all use, transfer, production and stockpiling of cluster bombs. World leaders are calling for tougher sanctions and accountability for alleged Russian war crimes in Bucha. Bureau Report, India Today.
The Ukraine invasion has taken a toll on President Zelenskyy. The biggest indicator is how his attire has changed from that of a president in a suit to a leader leading from the front in an olive green t-shirt and sometimes in army gears. Here's a report on the transformation of the fearless President Zelenskyy.
A clean-shaven President Zelenskyy in his suit and tie addressed his nation on February 22nd amid gathering Russian war clouds. Weeks later, dressed in an army jacket, a bulletproof vest and unkempt beard, and often sporting a bulletproof army helmet, this is President Zelenskyy reinventing himself, changing his attire as per the need to lead his nation locked in a fierce fight back. The war has taken a toll on the sartorial sense of President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, transforming a suave, urbane and nattily dressed president in a tailored suit into a wartime president in combat fatigue, battle-ready and boosting the morale of his forces.
Ukraine is defending and would not give its freedom, whatever they think in Moscow. Russia cowardly attacked our country early in the morning, very much like the Nazi Germany did during the Second World War.
Presidents do not usually write down addresses like this, but today I have to say just that, to talk about the discoveries in Bucha and other cities from where the occupiers were expelled. Hundreds of people tortured, killed, and civilians executed. Bodies on the street. Booby-trapped areas. Even the bodies of the dead are booby-trapped. Widespread aftermath of looting. Concentrated evil has visited our land. The killers, executioners, rapists, murderers who call themselves an army and who deserve only death after what they have done.
Zelenskyy has also traded his suit for a plain green round-neck t-shirt, popular with soldiers ever since Russia waged war on Ukraine. From addressing the United Nations, the US Congress, the EU Parliament and the Grammys, the wartime president Zelenskyy's dressing sense has made him a cult figure for those who back Ukraine, sending a message that the wartime president is leading from the front.
The UN system must be reformed immediately so that the right of veto will not become the right of a death, so that there is a fair representation of all world regions in the Security Council.
Zelenskyy's military round-neck t-shirt has become a fashion trend as well, making it popular for t-shirt motif across the world. The change in appearance for a president is usually that of graying hair, but Zelenskyy's transformation shows how times are tough for Ukraine. And what can be a better symbol of hope and strength than an olive green shirt-clad president who switches into combat dress in solidarity? A connect between the president and the army fighting for the motherland. Choosing the most accessible garment around, Zelenskyy's message is clear. He's in solidarity with Ukrainians. Bureau Report, India Today.